Hi, everybody. I'm Mary Brown, and I'm going to be reviewing Black Dynamite by Brian Ash. This story is published by IDW Publishing. The creative team is Ars Nova and APE Entertainment. This comic book compilation is 156 pages, 46 of which being reviewed today by me. Act 1 is pages 1 through 12, while Act 2 starts on page 14 and ends on page 38. I broke this comic down into three acts, which kind of follows the structure of which we've been taught in this class, give or take a couple of pages. The first act being 12 pages, the second being 29, and then the third being 9 pages. This story is about Black Dynamite. His goal is to figure out who's still enslaving people on an island other than where he is. A slave comes to the shore and is admitted into the hospital. The doctor calls Black Dynamite because he feels like he can use his powers to get to the bottom of what's happening. So Black Dynamite crosses the sea where he encounters a shark and has to defeat him in order to complete his mission. Black Dynamite will overcome lots of obstacles to get to his main goal. Once he reaches the shore, he's immediately beaten and captured and taken to Slave Island. This really isn't a problem for him because now he's closer to actually figuring out who's behind everything. Even though he is now a slave, he has superpowers so he can get himself out of the situation and help free the people. Once he's there, he sees the people and he's very ashamed. Like he really can't believe that this is going on. He immediately tries to preach to the brothers and sisters about their escapes, but they are so brainwashed. They feel like they will never be able to escape, and this is their life. But then he meets Betty, another slave, who is just as determined as he is to bring down whoever is controlling and ruling this slave island. She's ready, she's willing to do whatever it takes to help him bring them down. The couple makes plans to meet up at midnight and burn the place down, but not before they are subjected to being sold for pleasure by the peers of the owners of Slave Island. Wow. After completing his obligation, Black Dynamite seizes an opportunity to take over. He fights the guards and he takes their clothing. He finds Betty and tries to do a hostile takeover in Noah Hicks's office and ends up being captured and chained up. The next day, they beat him in front of a crowd, and he uses this opportunity to speak to the other slaves, letting them know that it's more of them than it is of the slave owners, and that they have enough power to overthrow them and take back their freedom. The next day, they beat him. And he uses this opportunity to actually speak to his brothers and sisters and let them know that it's way more them than Noah Hicks and his crew of slave owners and human abusers. And he convinces them to help him defeat them. So the slaves, hearing what Black Dynamite is telling them and getting a better understanding, they began to beat them. They began to take over. They began to take their weapons and use them against them and free themselves. During this time, Hicks has a whole plan in motion to escape. And of course, Black Dynamite goes after him and he lets him know, hey, you might be shutting down this one. You may have been successful at it, but we have thousands more islands just like this where we enslave people, and catch me if you can. Once the abusers have left the island, Black Dynamite invites the ex-slaves to come with him to mainland. where slavery is not even a thing over there. They're way past it, they're way ahead. But the slaves tell him no, this is their home, and they plan to stay there and rebuild it. So he gets on the boat by himself, and who is waiting for him on the boat? You guessed it, Betty. Betty has been a ride or die through this whole thing. Great minds think alike. She already knew, she already had a plan in motion herself, and when he came, that just gave her the ammo to do what she needed to do anyway. So that's my review as far as Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. This is Slave Island. Okay, so let's talk about the character arcs. We know Black Dynamite changed positions a lot in this story. At first, he's a bad mother, shut your mouth, coming to try to help and be heroic, and then he turns into a slave, but he never really broke his character arc. The characters that did actually display a difference in character arc were the slaves. At first, they really didn't want to hear anything that he had to say about, freedom or whatever. And by the end, he was able to convince them to rise up, which changed their character arc. The art in this comic book, I loved it. I loved every page. Every page pulled me in. The splash pages were in the correct spots. That he placed the page turners very well and correctly, and the story flowed like a movie to me. I would recommend this comic to my classmates because it displays a lot that we've learned during this course, and it's a great example of how to do it the right way, and it just flowed very well, way better than a few of the comics that I've read so far in this course. I would recommend this to my friends because it's a great piece of our history. It really is a metaphor to how we overcame. And it's a great read. Very entertaining and very historic. Fun fact, Black Dynamite is inspired by Superfly and Shaft. Thank y'all so much for listening to my review. Y'all have a blessed night.